Hey everyone, Stoic Empathy here, diving deep into some of the most challenging truths we face on our spiritual journeys. We talk a lot about external battles, but what happens when the spiritual warfare isn't coming from a stranger or some unseen force far away, but from the people standing right next to you, the ones you love, the ones you trust the most, your family and friends? It's a difficult thought, I know, maybe even painful, but it's absolutely critical to confront this head-on if you want to truly protect your peace and your purpose. Sometimes, the people we rely on the most, those closest connections, can become unexpected and deeply painful conduits through which demonic forces operate. Imagine this: your mother, your father, a sibling, or that best friend you've shared your deepest secrets with, people woven into the fabric of your life, can potentially transform into entry points for spiritual attacks specifically designed to undermine and even destroy everything you've worked so hard to build. It's not about demonizing the individual, but recognizing that dark influences can exploit existing relationships. The very bonds that should offer protection can, in a twisted way, become the perfect disguise for spiritual infiltration, allowing these influences to attack you from the most vulnerable places, from within your inner circle. The source makes a very clear and sobering point. Sometimes the most dangerous adversaries are not unknowns, but those intimately connected to you who have, perhaps unknowingly or through choice, allowed these dark energies to work through them. Now, this isn't just some abstract concept. There are undeniable, tangible signs that someone you care about might have opened themselves up to these darker influences, potentially targeting you. Paying close attention to these signs is paramount. It could truly be the line drawn between ongoing spiritual torment and stepping into true spiritual freedom. Don't skip this information, seriously. If you're short on time, speed it up to 1.5 or 2x. But absorb this knowledge because this understanding is a crucial layer of protection that, once lost, might be hard to recover. Let's jump straight into these 5 critical signs. Sign number 1, the deliberate targeting of your peace. Have you ever noticed how there are certain people in your life who just seem to have this uncanny knack for showing up or creating drama exactly when things are going incredibly well for you? It's almost like they have a built-in radar for your happiness or your moments of success. One minute you're celebrating a personal win, a new job, maybe some spiritual breakthrough, and the next, boom, they call or show up with a crisis, some kind of drama that immediately pulls you back down. It feels like a cruel joke, right? But the source argues this isn't just bad timing or some bizarre streak of coincidence. What if these trusted individuals are actually being utilized as strategic entry points for something far more deliberate? Demonic forces are described as intelligent and efficient. They aren't going to waste their energy trying to attack you through strangers who have no access to your home, your private thoughts, or your deep vulnerabilities. No, they operate smarter. They leverage the relationships you've already established, the connections where trust already exists. Think of it like trying to infiltrate a heavily fortified castle. You wouldn't try to scale the highest wall, would you? You'd find someone who already possesses the keys to the gate. This is precisely how these influences are said to operate in your life. The first clear sign is this calculated targeting of your inner peace and external progress. It's not random disruption. It's described as calculated spiritual warfare specifically aimed at the harmony you've cultivated. Let's look at some examples straight from the source. You finally land that job you've been manifesting and praying for, and suddenly your sister has some dramatic, urgent news that couldn't wait a minute. You're packed and ready for a deeply needed spiritual retreat, and your best friend manufactures an emergency demanding your immediate attention. You've just navigated a difficult patch and rebuilt connection with your spouse, and suddenly your mother dredges up an old family grievance. That must be discussed right now. The timing, as described, is simply too perfect to be accidental. And according to the source, it isn't. So how do you differentiate between the inevitable bumps of normal life and these potentially spiritually motivated attacks? The key is to look for the pattern. Normal life conflicts tend to have random timing. They pop up unexpectedly as life happens. Demonic attacks, however, exhibit precision timing, meticulously targeting the moments when you are experiencing advancement, joy, or significant spiritual growth. Listen closely to the language used. Phrases like, "I know this is a bad time, but," or "I hate to ruin your good mood, but," are flagged as potential telltale signs from someone who is consciously or unconsciously participating in this timing, knowing exactly the disruptive impact they are having. Another crucial difference is how you feel after the interaction. A normal conflict might leave you feeling frustrated or annoyed, but interactions driven by these influences are described as leaving you utterly drained. It's a profound exhaustion, as if your very life force has been depleted. Pay attention, also, to who seems to instinctively know when you are most vulnerable. Had a tough moment with your partner? Watch if that specific friend reaches out suspiciously quickly, not offering genuine comfort, but subtle nudges towards further conflict. This is the first point. The source asserts that this isn't a question of if this is happening, but who in your life might be allowing it, because at some level, they have made a choice to be used in this way. These influences strategically exploit your closest relationships to deliberately target your peace, progress, and spiritual ascent. Sign number 2. Unnatural knowledge of your weaknesses. Have you ever experienced that chilling moment when someone close to you says something so incredibly hurtful, so perfectly aimed, that it feels like they just peered directly into your most private hidden thoughts? A comment that hits you right in that secret place of insecurity you honestly thought nobody else knew existed. The source shares a powerful story about a woman whose husband, during arguments, would suddenly bring up specific details about her childhood trauma, details she had never shared with anyone, especially not him. He didn't just make vague references, he knew specifics and used them repeatedly, always when she was making spiritual progress. She was left tearful and confused, asking how he could possibly know these things she had kept completely secret. According to the source, this isn't standard human behavior. This level of unnatural insight into your deepest vulnerabilities is presented as the second unmistakable sign of demonic influence working through your relationships. Do you know someone who seems to have an almost supernatural ability to pinpoint exactly what will cause you the most pain? Someone who can pierce through your defenses with just a few, seemingly innocent but strategically chosen words? Someone who knows precisely which emotional or psychological buttons to push to send you into a spiral? The explanation offered is that demonic forces provide these human vessels with intelligence reports about you. They grant them access to information they shouldn't have, insights into your private thoughts, your unspoken fears, your deepest insecurities, things you've never even verbalized to a soul. This is explicitly differentiated from someone who simply knows you well due to deep connection. A spouse understanding your behavioral patterns is one thing. Someone demonstrating invasive, impossible knowledge used with surgical precision to inflict maximum damage is quite another. You need to pay attention when comments make you question, how could they possibly know that about me? Be alert when someone targets an insecurity you've actively hidden or references a fear you've never expressed verbally. A key indicator is that these attacks feel custom designed just for you. They aren't generic insults. They are precisely calibrated to exploit your unique psychological and spiritual weak points. Like spiritual snipers, they know exactly where to aim for maximum impact. To identify this, the source suggests a 3-step process. First, track the specific information they reveal that feels private or hidden. Second, verify whether you have ever actually shared this information with them. Third, notice the timing. Is this sensitive information used randomly, or does it consistently coincide with your moments of growth and progress? The reality presented is difficult to accept, but perhaps impossible to ignore. The source contends that some people in your life have willingly, at some level, allowed themselves to become conduits for supernatural intelligence about you. They have permitted demonic forces to use them as weapons against your spiritual and emotional well-being. This brings us to point number 2. People who have opened themselves to demonic influence may demonstrate unnatural knowledge of your weaknesses, knowledge they shouldn't possess, and will use it with tactical precision to create significant damage in your life. Sign number 3. Active interference with your spiritual growth. Here's something fascinating that happens when you seriously decide to grow spiritually, to deepen your faith, or commit to spiritual disciplines. Suddenly, certain people around you develop what the source calls an almost allergic reaction to your growth. It's as if they have a built-in spiritual radar that detects your progress and simply cannot tolerate it. This is the spiritual growth alarm system. The moment you start making real strides in your faith, this alarm goes off in their consciousness, and they spring into action specifically to stop you. Have you noticed this? You mention you're starting a daily prayer practice, and suddenly your brother needs to call and talk to you right during your scheduled prayer time, day after day. Or you share that you're undertaking a fast for spiritual clarity, and your best friend conveniently shows up at your door with your absolute favorite food, insisting that you break your fast to eat with them, just this once. According to the source, these are not random events. This is described as deliberate spiritual interference, the third major sign that someone in your life might be allowing these influences to work through them. What makes this particularly insidious is that it often comes disguised as genuine care or concern. They might say, "I'm just worried you're getting too extreme with all this religion stuff," or, "I miss spending time with you," when, the source suggests, the underlying intention is to disrupt your spiritual disciplines. Consider this familiar scenario. You're reading scripture or some spiritual text, feeling that profound sense of peace and clarity washing over you, that beautiful connection, when suddenly your phone buzzes. It's that same person again, with some non-emergency situation that somehow feels like it can't wait. And the moment you engage, that peaceful feeling, that spiritual connection, vanishes. Or perhaps you've shared a genuine spiritual insight, or a breakthrough you've had, only to have certain people immediately mock it, dismiss it outright, or abruptly change the subject. Have you noticed how quickly conversations about faith, growth, or spiritual topics get shut down or derailed before they even really begin with certain individuals? There's a distinction made between normal skepticism and this type of demonic opposition. Skeptics, the source notes, might ask genuine questions out of curiosity or legitimate concern. They may not share your beliefs, but generally respect your personal journey. Demonically influenced individuals, however, often actively shut down spiritual conversations entirely or twist them into arguments and contention. Their aim is described as actively working to impede your journey, not just question it. The most telling aspect is the consistency and precision of their interference. It's not occasional, it's systematic. It's not random, it's targeted. And crucially, it almost always occurs precisely when you are making the most significant spiritual progress. So, how do you navigate this and maintain your spiritual disciplines in the face of such targeted interference? The source offers steps. First, recognize the pattern for what it is. Second, establish firm, non-negotiable boundaries around your spiritual practices. Third, be strategic and discerning about what you share regarding your spiritual journey, and with whom you share it. The source emphatically states, your spiritual growth is not up for debate or discussion. You don't need permission from anyone to strengthen your relationship with the divine. This is point number 3. People influenced in this way may actively and deliberately interfere with your spiritual growth, appearing at strategic moments to disrupt your practices and discourage your faith journey. Sign number 4. Energy vampirism and depletion. Let's talk about something that happens when you're around certain people, a sensation that goes far beyond just feeling a bit tired or mildly annoyed. It's a profound, almost physical sense of being utterly drained, as if someone has literally pulled the plug on your vital energy, your very life force, and you can feel it flowing out of you. This isn't just your imagination, the source insists. It's not merely dealing with an exhausting person. This is described as something far more serious, operating on a spiritual level that many people don't recognize until they've suffered significant depletion. This is labeled energy vampirism, the fourth undeniable sign that someone in your life has potentially become a vessel for demonic influences. This manifestation is perhaps the one you feel most physically and immediately during or after an interaction. And once you understand this dynamic, the source suggests, you will never look at certain interactions the same way again. According to the source, demonic influences teach their human vessels specific deliberate techniques to extract your energy. They train these individuals in the art of energy theft. It's portrayed as a dark art, practiced with precision and a clear purpose. Think back to the last time you spent just an hour with a specific person, and afterwards, you felt like you needed to sleep for days. Your body felt heavy, your mind was foggy, and your motivation just evaporated. It genuinely felt like something fundamental had been stolen from you. Pay very close attention to the physical symptoms that only seem to occur when you are around these specific individuals. Sudden headaches that appear as they arrive and miraculously disappear when they leave. Unexplained fatigue that hits you like a physical blow, a tightness in your chest, difficulty breathing, or a persistent knot in your stomach for which there's no medical explanation. The emotional symptoms are just as revealing, according to the source. Sudden, uncharacteristic anxiety or depression that wasn't present before the interaction. Racing thoughts that you can't quiet. Feeling confused about things you were previously crystal clear on, or a sudden heavy sense of hopelessness descending like a dark cloud. What makes this even more concerning is how these energy attacks are said to intensify precisely when you are making positive changes in your life. Started a new healthy routine? Watch how quickly that energy-draining person appears with reasons why you should abandon it. Finally feeling happy and stable after a period of depression? Notice who suddenly requires hours of your emotional support, monopolizing your time and energy. The spiritual mechanics behind this are presented as relatively simple, once grasped. Energy, like other elements in the spiritual realm, follows intention. These individuals, whether consciously or unconsciously, have been taught by their influencing entities to set an intention to pull energy from you during interactions. You can identify these energy-draining conversations by certain patterns. Discussions that go in circles and never reach any resolution. The sudden introduction of heavy, traumatic topics right when you were feeling light and positive. Conversations where you find yourself constantly defending yourself for hours. Or interactions where you feel compelled to over-explain simple concepts while the other person seems to pretend not to understand, keeping you engaged and draining. But here is the absolutely critical lesson you must hold on to. You can protect your energy even when you cannot avoid exposure to these people. The source suggests several practices. First, visualize a powerful shield of light completely surrounding your body before engaging with them. Second, and this is crucial, limit the duration of your exposure, as energy drainage is said to happen exponentially over time. Third, practice immediate energy restoration activities afterward, such as prayer, meditation, or spending time in nature. Most importantly, internalize this truth. Your energy belongs to you. No one, not family, not friends, not anyone, has an inherent right to drain your life force. Your energy is sacred, and protecting it is not selfish. It is essential for you to fulfill your purpose. This is point number 4. Individuals influenced in this way may deliberately drain your energy, leaving you feeling physically, emotionally, and spiritually depleted, particularly when you are making positive life changes. Sign number 5. Coordinated spiritual attacks. Now, I need you to pause for a moment and think about something that might have felt strange or confusing to you before hearing this. Have you ever had those periods where problems seem to hit you from seemingly unrelated directions, all at the same time? It's almost as if different people in your life, who might not even know each other, suddenly start creating similar issues, or challenging you in oddly similar ways all concurrently. Perhaps you've experienced a week where your spouse, your boss, and a close friend all seem to question your decisions or challenge your boundaries in eerily parallel fashion. Or maybe you've noticed that just as you manage to resolve a conflict with one person, a completely different relationship suddenly erupts with the exact same underlying issue. If you're nodding your head right now, the source suggests you are recognizing the 5th sign of demonic influence operating through your relationships. Coordinated spiritual attacks that come at you through multiple people simultaneously. Think back. Have there been times when it felt like your entire social circle, or different parts of your life, turned against you at once? Or moments when seemingly unconnected people in different areas of your life suddenly started using identical phrases or bringing up the same obscure specific topics? According to the source, this is not mere coincidence. This is spiritual coordination. Demonic forces are described as not working in isolation. They network and communicate with each other. And when they identify multiple points of access into your life through various relationships, they are said to orchestrate their attacks together for maximum possible impact. One of the most telling patterns to look for is when seemingly unrelated conflicts or criticisms all seem to stem from the same core issue or vulnerability. Perhaps multiple people suddenly express concern about the exact same aspect of your spiritual practice, or different family members, acting independently, all bring up the same past mistake you thought you had already fully addressed and moved past. The timing is also a significant indicator. These coordinated attacks often intensify dramatically during significant life transitions, right before a major move, a significant career change, a relationship milestone like marriage or a new baby, or especially just before a significant spiritual breakthrough. It's described as if an alert goes out in the spiritual realm. Hey, this person is about to break through. All units, respond. How can you possibly identify the spiritual command center directing these multiple attacks when they're coming from different people? The source advises looking for the common thread. Despite being delivered through different individuals, these coordinated attacks tend to share similar language, occur around the same timing, or have identical objectives. They are designed to target the same core vulnerability, but from different angles, all serving the same ultimate purpose: to distract you from your path, relentlessly drain your energy, and ultimately destroy your peace. Have you ever noticed certain conversation patterns that feel strangely scripted, almost robotic? Specific phrases that multiple unconnected people in your life suddenly start using. Questions that seem innocent on the surface, but consistently leave you feeling doubtful, confused, or undermined afterward. These are presented as potential signs of spiritual networking, evidence that the same influencing force is operating through multiple different channels simultaneously. Breaking this pattern of coordination, the source argues, requires addressing the spiritual root of the problem, rather than just reacting emotionally to the human manifestations. When you recognize that the conflict you're having with your mother, the issue with your friend, and the challenge from your coworker are actually all spiritually connected parts of a larger campaign, you can stop wasting your energy fighting individual, isolated battles. Instead, you can redirect your focus and energy towards addressing the coordinating force behind them. This means strengthening your spiritual boundaries, not just with one person, but with everyone who exhibits these patterns. It means consciously recognizing when seemingly separate conflicts are actually components of a larger, targeted spiritual campaign against you, and it means choosing to respond not with emotional reactivity, but with spiritual awareness and authority. Hold on to this powerful truth. No matter how many people are being used as potential vessels against you, the coordinating force behind them is limited in its power over you. It only has the power you give it, often unintentionally, through fear, doubt, or simply through ignorance of what's actually happening. This is point number 5. When demonic influences work through your relationships, they frequently coordinate attacks through multiple people simultaneously, creating a strategic campaign meticulously designed to overwhelm your defenses and destabilize you from several directions at once. So we've laid bare all 5 of these potential signs that demonic influence might be operating through your closest relationships. The deliberate targeting of your peace, the unsettling, unnatural knowledge of your deepest weaknesses, the active, persistent interference with your spiritual growth, the physically and emotionally debilitating energy vampirism, and these coordinated attacks coming at you from multiple directions. These signs, collectively, point to a deeply challenging but necessary reality to acknowledge: that some people in your life, knowingly or unknowingly, have chosen to allow themselves to be used as vessels for forces that fundamentally seek your disruption and destruction. But why would someone make such a choice? Often, as the source points out, it's not a fully conscious, malicious decision, in the way you might initially think. Individuals who are deeply wounded, consumed by bitterness, or are simply spiritually vulnerable, can become unwitting entry points without truly understanding the gravity of what they are permitting. Their own pain, their own unhealed areas, create openings, cracks that these demonic forces are quick to exploit. Your first and most potent line of defense begins with awareness, which you now possess. The next step is active spiritual protection. Implement daily spiritual practices that strengthen your connection and build your spiritual resilience. Practice visualizing those prayer shields surrounding you before you go into interactions that you suspect might be draining or difficult. Perform energy cleansing practices after exposure to help restore your depleted life force. And most importantly, establish clear, firm, and non-negotiable boundaries with individuals who consistently demonstrate these patterns. Sometimes, maintaining physical or emotional distance is absolutely necessary for your spiritual safety and well-being. Other times, if the person is open and willing, the relationship can potentially be fought for and reclaimed from these influences. But the source emphasizes that the ultimate power to reclaim your spiritual territory, your peace, and your energy belongs to you. Refuse to see yourself as a helpless victim of these influences. When you recognize these patterns for what they are, you can stand in spiritual authority over them. Having gained this knowledge today, returning to ignorance about these dynamics would be a tragic waste of information that could be vital in protecting you and the people you genuinely care about. If this information resonated with you, if it shed light on experiences you've had but couldn't quite explain, consider sharing this with others who might be going through similar torment. You might just be the lifeline, the source of understanding and empowerment that they have been praying for. And hey, if you found value in this, if your eyes were opened, seriously, take a second right now and smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. The forces we're talking about here, they absolutely do not want this knowledge spreading. Your subscription is a simple but powerful act that helps ensure this vital information reaches more people who desperately need it. The YouTube algorithm is actually pretty smart. It's already selected the next video it thinks you need to see, one that will build directly on what you've learned today. Click on the suggested video popping up on your screen right now. Your journey of spiritual protection and reclaiming. Your power is just beginning, and the next crucial piece of the puzzle is waiting for you. Stay strong, stay aware, and keep walking in your truth. This is Stoic Empathy, signing off.